Hey, welcome. In this video, I'm gonna walk you through the process of configuring your Roland TR-08 to work with Ableton Live 9 in a way that gets individual tracks for each drum. At first, I had a little bit of difficulty figuring this out, so I figured I'd shoot this video. The first thing you want to do is visit roland.com and make sure that you have downloaded the appropriate driver. In my case, I made this video with OS X Sierra. While you're at Roland's site, you might want to hop over to the owner manual section and download the owner manual PDF, the preset tracklist PDF, and the MIDI implementation chart PDF. The preset tracklist is probably not necessary, but I'd grab the other two at least. You don't need to read this, I guess, but you should. And if you're planning to use the TR-08 with Ableton, you definitely want to get the MIDI implementation chart. That'll allow you to control parameters with CC messages. Alright, so you downloaded the driver, you unzipped it. Before you start installing, open up the README. Click on the link for the installation section and follow those steps, which require you to restart after the install. And at that point, we'll pick back up after you've restarted. Alright, we installed the driver, restarted our machine, and now we need to configure the audio MIDI setup. So you can open up Spotlight and do a search for audio MIDI setup and hit return, or you can find it in the utilities folder. If you don't see both of these windows, you can go to the toolbar in the upper left and you can click on Window and you can toggle them, show, hide. Just make sure both of them are open, Audio Devices and MIDI Studio. Okay, time to connect the TR-08 to our laptop. We'll use a USB 2 micro B cable. Make sure the connection is made with the TR-08 power off, and then turn it on. Looking back at the audio devices window, you should see the TR-08 is listed as an available audio device. Control-click on the device and make sure Use this device for sound input is selected. For this demo, we're going to use the built-in output. You'll want to control-click on that and make sure that Use this device for sound output and play alerts and sound effects through this device is selected. This is kind of just for the tutorial. You would probably want to set this to whatever your preferred sound card is. So we want to turn our attention to the MIDI Studio window. Roland recommends that we create a new external MIDI device, so you're gonna click the plus button and then you're gonna double click on the new item that appears. They want you to change the name of this to the TR-08. and then you're going to hit apply, and you're going to connect the MIDI in and out connections between the two TR-08 devices. I find that naming kind of confusing, but that's what the documentation says. And now we need to test the MIDI connection. So you're gonna click on the keyboard icon in the upper right, and then you're gonna hit play or start on the TR-08. Hit stop, and we're ready to work with Ableton. Alright, we have live open. We have two tracks, a MIDI track and an audio track. But before we can work with those, we need to set up the audio input and output device. So launch the preferences window. You can do that with Command, comma, or by going to the upper toolbar and clicking File, Preferences. We're going to select the TR-08, and we're going to activate the inputs. 1 and 2 stereo, and the rest are going to be mono. Click Link MIDI and verify that only track is enabled. If you have sync on, anytime you push play, the TR-08 will play a pattern if one is programmed. Let's configure the MIDI and audio track. On the MIDI 2, on the MIDI track, we're going to set that to the TR-08, and we're going to send the MIDI on channel 1. To make sure that the TR-08 is listening on the right channel, first press the menu button, then use the value selector to find the channel CH. Hit the tap button, set to the channel number we want to listen on, hit tap again or menu and exit. Back in live, set the audio tracks input to 1 and 2 stereo, toggle monitor in, create a new MIDI clip, and scroll the piano roll to C1 and insert some notes. Hit play. Alright, bass drum coming through. The reason I knew that C1 was the note that triggered the bass drum was thanks to that MIDI implementation PDF we downloaded at the beginning. Alright, what's the difference between this and just plugging the output of the TR-08 into our audio? We want to get the individual drum tracks into live on separate audio tracks. So I just created a bunch of audio tracks with Command T. We're going to set the inputs starting at input 3 because 1 and 2 are used by that stereo track. Okay, we can see the bass drum, the snare, and I believe that's the rim shot. See them all on separate tracks. You can keep adding tracks. You'll have to refer to the MIDI implementation to figure out which note triggers which drum, but you can see we're getting isolated tracks for each of them. And then you can do whatever you want from there. Add all sorts of different effects or treatments to each of the drums. Thanks.